Good morning. This is cause number 2013-74538 in the interest of Felix Veira and Kimberly Ochoa. Please raise your right hands to be sworn. You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right. Please state your name, ma'am, and your relationship to the children.
I'm Adelicia Ibarra. I'm the mother of Kimberly Anaí Ochoa and Vera Samantha Ochoa.
All right. And is Mr. Ochoa here?
He's not here, Your Honor, but Carlos Rodriguez is, I'm his attorney. And that was one of the preliminary matters we wanted to address, Judge.
That was one of what? I'm sorry?
A preliminary matter we wanted to address, Judge.
Father not present. Father's attorney present. All right, and for the state?
Hoya Armstrong, representing the Office of the Attorney General.
All right, we've got a suit for modification of child support order, and what are we doing today?
Your Honor, we'd like to have a trial. I actually like to do a default order. I'm not sure if Mr. Rodriguez, as his attorney, is able to speak with him, speak for his client to make agreements or not. So we wanted to do a default against Mr. Ochoa, since he's not present and he's been served.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, sir. And respectfully, Judge, we were going to ask for continuance since he is not here. And another reason for the continuance is, I believe, in our previous discussion, there are still a lot of questions and large discrepancies as far as how much money he should be charged for health and other details like that.
Well, why is your client not here?
If I knew, Judge, and then I would have him here. But I was not able to get in touch with him, Your Honor. And he was not here at the previous hearing either, actually, Judge.
The state objects to another continuance. If you see the notes on this case, Your Honor, this case has been several times.
Hold on.
The last time he had said that he wasn't going to show up because he wasn't going to pay whatever he owed to the attorney.
Okay, hold on. I have a reset order here way back. I mean, this has been going on for a while, right? This was filed February 2020. And here we are almost a year later. And this matter was reset, and NCP attorney filed a motion for continuance due to being in another county. And your client didn't show on that day either. So we're going to go forward, Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you even want to be involved in this hearing or not. If your client isn't even here, I don't know. But
I'll definitely represent his rights the best I can, Judge.
Okay. Suit for modification of child support. Okay, we're having a hearing. And we'll proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Will the court please take judicial notice of the agreed child support review order for modification that was signed by this court on May 30th of 2017.
Okay.
And then the court also take further notice of the modification petition to modify filed by the Office of Attorney General. It was filed on December 13th of 2019 that brought us to court today.
Oh, December, that's right. December 13th, 2019. Okay, I got that.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'd like to first call, my first witness is going to be Arnaldo Barrera, child support officer.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Barrera, please state your full name.
Arnaldo Barrera.
Where do you work?
I work at the Office of the Attorney General of Texas,
And what is your title?
Child Support Officer.
And as a child support officer, what are some of your duties that you do?
I conduct investigations on calculating child support and retroactive child support.
And Mr. Barrera, were you able to find any income information for Mr. Felix Arnaldo Ochoa?
Yes, I did.
And what income information were you able to find for him?
Sure, we would object to predicate and hearsay.
Overruled.
Go ahead and answer the question, Mr. Barrera.
I found income information for Mr. Ochoa as a monthly average of $3,922.76.
And that was a monthly gross income, Mr. Barrera?
That is correct, based on
Yep.
information that I conducted.
And what year was this income from? What year was it from?
This was from 2020, the months from January through September.
Perfect. Okay. And this was the average based on those 9 months?
That is correct.
Thank you. And were you able to find any other income information for Mr. Ochoa?
No other income information was found after that.
Thank you, sir. I pass this witness.
Ms. Ochoa, do you have any questions for Mr. Barrera?
Yes, on that amount that he came up with, that was
What is,
already.
no. You
Oh.
have any questions for him? I don't want, you can make a statement if you want to, but right now, do you have any questions for him?
No,
All right, Mr. Rodriguez, do you have any questions for Mr. Barrera?
Not at this time, Judge, but we would reserve the right to recall him if needed.
Fine. All right. Call your next witness, Ms. Armstrong.
Thank you, Judge. I'll call Ms. Ochoa.
yes, ma'am.
And please state your full name for the court.
Adelicia Ibarra.
Okay. But you go by, as far as our records, you go by Ochoa.
Ochoa, yes.
So there's no confusion. Okay. All right. Now, have you seen Mr. Felix Ochoa sign into the Zoom hearing today?
No,
Now, you're aware that we filed this modification back in December of 2019, is that right?
yes.
Now, since the last order, what kind of insurance do you have for the children currently?
I have Medicaid.
And how many children do you and Mr. Ochoa have together?
We have 3.
Now, the older child who's named after his father, also named Felix, he's an adult, is that right? He's over the age of-
Yes.
Now, the child Vera, how old is she?
She's 18 now.
She's 18 and she turned 18 when?
September 12th, 2020.
Okay, so just a few months ago, but
Yes.
she's in high school, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And then the youngest child, Kimberly, how old is she?
She's turned 16 in August of last year.
Okay, so you're requesting child support for Mr. Ochoa to pay for those 2 children, the one still in high school and the youngest child, Kimberly, is that right?
Yes.
Now, are you aware of any other children that Mr. Ochoa has with anyone else?
No, he doesn't.
Now, do you have any personal knowledge of where Mr. Ochoa works or if he works?
Yes, he works for his uncle at Port Houston Valves.
And as far as you know, how long has Mr. Ochoa worked at Port Houston Valve?
Since the age of 15.
Okay, for a long time. Okay,
For a long time, yes.
all right. And Ms. Ochoa, y'all used to be married, is that right?
Yes,
And y'all lived in the same household for many years, is that right?
correct.
And do you have any personal knowledge of what his income has been since he's been working at this Port Houston valve?
I'm sorry, say again?
Do you have any personal knowledge of what his income
Yes.
has been?
Yes.
And what has his income been based on what you know personally?
He makes
And
like the
Judge,
hourly pay.
I'm sorry, Judge, we would object to relevance as to time and scope.
Relevance for what? I'm sorry?
As to what time period she's referring to and
Oh.
what time period her knowledge is from.
All right, you want to then
Yes, I can rephrase the
no,
question,
no.
Your Honor. Yes, that's no problem.
sustain?
Miss Ochoa, when is the last time that you saw how much he made from this job? What month, what year?
I see Felix every other day.
Okay, so when's the last time that you saw how much he makes?
Right after the last quarter that he didn't show up in October
October of what year, ma'am?
2020.
So in October of 2020, how much did you see that he made?
Well, like I said, he dropped his hours so he wouldn't have to pay a large amount for child support. And we got into an argument of that.
All right, that objection non-responsive.
Listen to the question, ma'am.
Okay. You spoke with him. The last time you saw a paycheck, you said it was October of 2020. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Was he getting paid hourly or salary based on what you saw?
Hourly.
Okay. And how much, based on what you saw in that time period, how much was he getting paid per hour?
30.
$30 an
We
hour.
object to the
Okay.
hearsay.
Now,
We object to
sorry.
the hearsay from a document that apparently is not in evidence.
Oh, it's just what she said, what she
It-
says she saw. That's overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, this $30 an hour, you said he's been working there since he was 15, correct?
Yes.
Been married for a long time. How long were y'all married?
We just officially got divorced 4 years ago.
Okay, and when did y'all get married though?
We got married at the
What year?
1997. We got married in 1997.
So you've been married a long time and you're familiar with his income, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So how long has he been making this $30 an hour? How many years do you know?
It's been for the past 3 years. He got that raise. Yes.
Okay, all right. Now, y'all were both present in court back in 2020, is that right? Was it March 25th of 2020, ma'am?
25th. Yes.
Okay. And do you know why Mr. Ochoa has not been coming to court since then?
Object
Yes,
to
because he said he
speculation.
wasn't going to pay the attorney.
Sustain.
I didn't hear the objection.
Speculation.
Do you have any personal knowledge of do you know any personal reasons why he didn't come? Do you know personally why he has not appeared? If you don't know, just say no. But do you personally know why he has not appeared?
He said because he wasn't going to pay the
No,
remaining
object-
balance to the attorney.
Hold on.
Object to hearsay, Judge.
I'm sorry. Say again, Mr. Rodriguez. I didn't hear it.
We object to hearsay, Your Honor.
Oh, that's a party.
That's a
Overruled.
part. That was going to be my response. It's a party. Go ahead and finish your sentence, ma'am. He stated what?
Because he wasn't going to pay the remaining balance that he owes to the attorney. He said it very clear last year in October.
Okay, and the attorney being Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, all right.
Well, we would object to
Was I able
speculation.
to calculate child support? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the objection.
There's speculation as to what attorney he's not going to pay.
Overruled.
I'll move on, Judge. Based on the $30 an hour, we're able to calculate an income based on $30 an hour. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And we calculated income of $5,200 monthly gross income based on $30 an hour. Is that right?
Yes.
And are you asking the court to award you child support then based on that income?
Yes.
Based on that income, child support will be $944 per month for the 2 children. Is that right?
Yes.
And then for 1 child, it will go down to $755 per month. Is that right?
Yes.
And then you're wanting the child support to begin April 1st of 2020, last year. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
The first date after he made an appearance and was served on this matter. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And has Mr. Ochoa given you any money, any any additional money for child support since this action has been filed, since last year?
No money has been received from him.
Okay, all right. And then for medical support, are you asking the judge to allow you to keep applying for the government medical assistant program for the children?
Yes.
Okay. And then we were able to calculate medical support of $468 per month. Is that right?
You know, we
Yes.
object to speculation and
I pa- I'm-
I'm sorry?
we object to speculation and predicate, Judge. She's not an expert as to how to calculate health care, and they gave no basis how they came to that number.
I didn't ask her if she calculated the medical. I asked her if that's what we calculated.
Well, that's a hearsay statement, and that's speculation.
What who calculated? Mr. Barrera?
Correct.
All right, overrule.
All right. I pass this witness, Your Honor.
All right, do you have
Okay.
any questions for Ms. Ochoa?
Yes, Your Honor. Now, Ms.
Okay.
Ochoa, you did hear the testimony of Mr. Arnold Barrera that his investigation showed that your ex-husband made an average of $3,922 a month, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the testimony you gave the Attorney General about making $30 an hour,
Mhm.
You're saying you based that on seeing something in October?
Like I said, I see Felix every other day. So he tells me and I see his
Okay.
check stubs.
Ma'am,
Yes.
I'm asking about something that you
Listen to the question, ma'am.
Okay.
did you see his actual pay stub in
Yes.
October? Okay. Now, did you notice how little he was working in October?
Yes.
Okay. So, do you remember how much the paycheck was for in October? How much he was being paid in October?
Yes. He intentionally dropped his hours to get ready
Okay.
for court.
Ma'am, listen to the question, please. Listen to the question. Repeat your question, Mr. Rodriguez, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Did you see how much, what the amount was that he was making on that pay stub?
Yes.
What was the amount, if you know?
Before net gross or after?
The gross amount before
The
taking.
gross amount, it was I believe it was $892.
And that's for 2 weeks.
No, that's per week.
So he gets a paycheck every week.
Yes. Every Thursday.
Okay. Now, you certainly don't have that paycheck stub for the court to see, correct?
You're asking me?
Yes, ma'am.
That's correct. I don't have it.
Okay. And can you please explain to the court how is it you were able to see this paycheck stub?
Because I go to Felix's house every other day.
So he just had it laying around and you looked at it, or?
Yeah, he has it laying around right there on the dresser.
Did you have to open up his mail?
No, no. His check stub was on top of the dresser.
Now, did you do agree with me that he's been working less hours in the last part of 2020 than he worked before, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, do you work at that company?
I'm sorry?
Do you work at the company that he works at?
No.
Objection relevance?
No, I
Objection
don't work. I work down the street
where
from
she
him.
works?
Okay,
May I continue, Judge?
Sure.
Now, Ms. Ochoa,
Yes.
so you have no personal knowledge as to whether or not the business has slowed down because of COVID or any other things that have come up in 2020. Isn't that
It has
correct?
not slowed down.
But ma'am, you don't work there, correct?
I work down the street from there.
But ma'am, you don't work there, correct?
No, I do not work there. No.
And you're saying
But
you've
family
seen,
does work there.
we object to non-responsive, Judge.
Sustain.
Ma'am, and isn't it true that just because a business is open does not mean it's making the same income, correct?
Objection, argumentative.
Well, that would really be speculative.
Okay.
Sustain.
So the $30 that you're basing this on, ma'am, is actually more than even the normal average taking his income. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And now, as far as your children, you have 3 children with Mr. Ochoa, correct?
Yes.
Oldest child is already aged out, is beyond 18.
Correct.
But your second child, isn't it true that your second child is actually living already with
She stays
either,
with me and she
Ma'am,
spends the
ma'am. You have to,
Yes.
this is a question answer. You don't interrupt, okay?
Oh.
All right.
Okay.
Ask the question again, Mr. Rodriguez.
yes, sir. Isn't it true, ma'am, that your middle child, I believe her name is Vera,
Mhm.
has been living with her boyfriend, is not living with you anymore?
Stays at both houses.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that answer.
She stays with me and she spends the night at her boyfriend's house, the father of the baby.
Okay.
So you would agree with me that your middle child, Vera, has a child and has been living with the father of that child and the child also in the same household, correct?
Say again?
Asked and answered. She already answered where the child lives.
Okay. How old is her baby?
He's
Objection, relevance.
Overrule. Go ahead.
3 months.
And isn't it true she has been living with the father of that child since before the child was born?
Stays at both houses.
Okay, ma'am. Focusing on the house of the father of the child. For how long has she been staying there at his house?
Okay, she spends the night every other weekend at his house.
How long has this been going on, ma'am?
When I didn't authorize, when I put the child support on Felix in 2019, I believe, or 2017, that's when he let her go to the boyfriend's and I picked her up from there because I did not authorize for him to let her go over there.
So you're saying that she's been living with her boyfriend and
She was spending the night and I brought her back home.
Ma'am, you have to
Yes.
just wait for the
Oh.
question.
So you're saying she's been living with her boyfriend in whatever capacity since 2019. Is that correct?
I'm not saying that she was living with him.
Objection, asked and answered.
Sustain that, and that's not a testimony.
Okay. Now, isn't it true that the boyfriend supports her and pays her bills as the father of her
Objection,
child?
relevance.
Overrule. Did you hear the question, Ms. Ochoa?
Oh, no.
Okay, repeat the question, please.
Yes, sir. Isn't it true that the father of her child, of Vera's child, supports her and pays her bills?
He does not pay her bills because she's still under my Medicaid.
I'm not referring to Medicaid, ma'am. Okay, I'm talking about everyday living expenses. Isn't it true that Vera and the father of her child, they have their own family unit where they're working and they're supporting themselves? Isn't that true?
Supporting them and how?
When they pay their own bills, she helps paying the bills, he helps pay the bills. They have their own family unit with their child. Isn't that true?
He has his own place.
And she supports that place. She pays bills there too, correct?
She does not pay any bills there.
So he supports her.
He pays his own bills.
Okay.
Because if he paid for her bills, he would be paying for the hospital bills, and he doesn't.
Now, isn't it true, ma'am, that they're basically common law married?
Objection, relevance.
Overruled. I don't know if she would know if they're common law married. I don't know if she knows the legal requirements for a common law.
Objection calls for a legal conclusion.
All right, sustain.
Okay. All right. Do you know, ma'am, if the father of Vera's child claims Vera and the baby on taxes?
No, I'm the one who claims them.
All right. And you said Vera is still in school?
Yes, she's still in high school online.
What school is she attending?
Oh. I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry, say again.
Yes, ma'am. What school is she attending?
The name of the school, it's in the, I don't know the name of the school. Because Felix had transferred her from Fur High School to some other high school in the north side area.
Okay. Okay, we pass the witness, Judge.
Ms. Armstrong.
Yes, there's a few questions more for Ms. Ochoa. Now, Ms. Ochoa, Vera, was she enrolled in high school when she turned 18 back in September of 2020?
Yeah, she was still in school, yes.
And she is still currently enrolled in high school, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, pass the witness.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Nothing further, Judge.
All right. Next witness, Ms. Armstrong.
Yes, I'd like to recall Mr. Barrera.
All right.
Mr. Barrera, were you able to calculate medical support in this case as well?
Yes, I did.
All right, and were you able to calculate how much medical support would be based on the 5,200 monthly gross income?
Yes, 460
I'm sorry, say again?
$468.
And were you also able to calculate how much medical support would be based on the lower income of $3,921 monthly gross income?
Yes, $353.
And those are both monthly amounts, correct?
Those are monthly amounts, yes.
Thank you. Pass the witness.
Mr. I'm sorry, Ms. Ochoa, you have any questions for Mr. Barrera?
No.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Now, Mr. Barrera, the amount of $353, how did you come up to that amount?
That amount, it's 9% of the gross income.
And the gross income, is that the $3,922?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, is it your understanding that 9% is the maximum that the law allows to be used to calculate medical support, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Now you understand that Ms. Ochoa in this case is actually has government assistance. She doesn't have her own medical insurance. Is that correct?
Objection. This calls for my Mr. Barrera to state a fact that could make him have a misdemeanor criminal charge for revealing if someone's receiving state assistance or not. He is not allowed to respond to that question legally.
May I respond, Judge?
Yes.
It was elicited in an earlier testimony from Ms. Ochoa that she's receiving, Medicare.
That's correct. Mr. Ochoa can state whatever government wants to. Mr. Barrera, as a state employee, it is a criminal charge for him to state under Texas Family Code, Texas Penal Code 12.21 is a Class A misdemeanor for him to state if someone was receiving state assistance or not. Ms. Barrera cannot answer that question. Ms. Ochoa can.
And
I'd have to object to that, Your Honor.
All right, sustain.
okay. Now, Sir, are you familiar with the confidentiality statute in the Family Code, section 2231.108?
Mr. Barrera.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Now, this is a statute in the Family Code that talks about the confidentiality of records. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I see you reading something. Do you happen to have that statute in front of you?
Yes, I do.
Okay, perfect. You see here in subsection A, that's the subsection that says you cannot release the information. Is that right?
Your Honor, at this time, I have to object to this line of questioning. Mr. Barrera is not an attorney. He's not able to make a legal conclusion from what the Texas Family Code states. He can read it, but as far as making a legal interpretation, he's not equipped to do that. He's not an attorney.
If I may respond, Judge, this information is being prohibited from coming out into the record. And in all fairness, I'm trying to establish the basis for what Mr. Barrera used to come up with this amount of 353. And what I'm getting to, Judge, if the court would allow me, there is an exception in the code that's being used here to keep this information out. There's an exception that it can be released for purposes such as here, that for the basis of us knowing one way or another where these records come from. There's an exception. It says except as provided under subsection C. It says the Title IV agency, which is exactly what we're dealing with.
Your Honor, I have to object. The Title IV agency.
Oh, wait a minute. He hasn't finished his argument, Ms.
Is the
Armstrong.
Title IV agency- Thank you, Judge. Is the Title IV agency may use or release information from the files and records, including information that results from a communication made by a recipient of financial assistance under this chapter, and so forth, for the purpose directly connected to the administration of child support. That's what we're dealing with here, Judge. So no, and I'm simply asking for the basis of his calculations, and it can be released per the code. And I understand the Attorney General may not agree with me as far as what the law says, but there is an exception to that.
Mr. Barrera is allowed to tell you how he calculated his numbers. He is not allowed to tell you where he got his income resources from, and he's also not allowed to say if a person is receiving government assistance. There is not an exception to that. Mr. Barrera can tell you exactly how he calculated the medical support if Mr. Rodriguez would like. That is part of his job. That he can reveal.
I agree.
And Judge, if I may, directly from that exception, it says results from a communication made by a recipient of financial assistance. It's allowed in the code.
Right, meaning Ms. Ochoa can state that she's receiving government assistance if she wants to. Mr. Barrera cannot, because he is not the one actually receiving the state assistance. But Ms. Ochoa already said that she was receiving state assistance, so I'm not sure why this line of questioning to Mr. Barrera is even needed at this point. It's been asked and answered by Ms. Ochoa.
Well, if my objection is being overruled, I would like to lay the foundation for a bill of exception for the appellate court.
I'm charging it.
All right. The objection is overruled.
Okay.
Yeah, but I have to charge it because it's going to shut down.
Okay. Then I'd respectfully ask a chance to make a bill of exception after, Judge.
All right.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay, Mr. Barrera, as far as the 353 goes, what is, if 9% is the most that can be used to calculate the medical support, what is the least percentage that can be used? The lowest percentage?
The lowest percentage? I don't understand the question.
Well, you agreed that you calculated this medical support at the maximum percentage of 9%, correct?
Yes, that's what the law states is a reasonable cost for insurance that non-custodial parents should pay.
But 9% is the maximum. Is that right? Yes or no?
That is the maximum amount that the law says is reasonable cost.
Now, what is the minimum? What's the minimum percentage?
Minimum percentage that can be charged is 0 on cases where a customer does not have income.
Okay. Now, in looking um, at the monthly amounts that you calculated per quarter in 2020, you would agree with me that the last quarter that you can see is decreases in the amount, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So without speculating why an amount is decreasing, isn't it true that instead of using the entire 9%, you could use half of that, which would be 4.5%? Isn't that right?
When we calculate medical support, it's calculated based on if he has other children, and the maximum amount, the reasonable cost is 9%.
Oh, I understand that, but that wasn't my question, sir. I asked if you could calculate it at half of the 9%, which would be 4.5%. Isn't that right?
On different cases, it can be, but on this case, it was calculated at 9%.
Well, what would the amount be if it was calculated at 4.5%?
4.5% of 3,922. It's $234.
All right. Okay, sir. And looking at your records, what was the amount of child support that you came up with, sir?
Based on an average of his income from January through September of 3,922 gross income, child support should be 735.
735. Okay.
I'm
Now,
sorry. I've got a 944 number. I've got a 755 number. What? I'm confused. Where does the 944 come from,
Hey, Bobby.
That's,
Mr. Barrera?
The 944, I'm sorry, Your Honor, the 944 comes from $30 an hour, 5,200 gross income a month.
And subtracting the cash medical support, you mean? Also?
No, that is with, I'm sorry, when child support, when I calculate child support at 5,200 a month with 468 medical support, his child support should be 944.
All right.
Those were the calculations for 2 children.
Okay. That's what I thought, but then you threw some other number out there, and I didn't understand.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That was based on the income information at 3,922 gross a month.
That was the 755 and the 353.
I'm charging it.
Yes, I calculated 735
So I'm sorry, then I misunderstood. 735
and 350.
and 353. Okay.
okay. Now, Mr. Barrera, are you using the entire gross amount of 3,922?
Using the average of 3,922, that is correct.
Now, are you familiar with the revised employee tax table as far as determining the net resources?
Taxes was deducted from the gross income. That is correct.
Okay. Now, would you agree with me that on the tax table, the revised employee tax table, for an income of a gross income of $3,900 a month, the net income, according to the tax table, is $3,271 a month? Would you agree with that?
I gave him credit for $628.54 off his gross income.
Okay. So what was the net resource amount that you had?
Net resource amount on a gross income of $3,922 minus taxes and health insurance. The net income was $2,940.22.
Okay. Now, the percentage that's being applied, you applied for 2 children, correct? That's 25%.
That is correct. 25% for 2 children.
And Mr. Barrera, what is 25% of the net resources of 2,940?
735.
Okay. All right. And as far as using any other number, as far as your investigation goes, based on the numbers you determined and that you found, I'm averaging the first three quarters of 2020, the child support you came up with is $735. Is that correct?
Based on the income from January through September, that is correct.
Okay.
All right, I'm confused again.
May I explain, Your Honor?
Well, Judge,
Well, hold on,
Okay.
hold on a minute. Then where did the $944 come? The $5,200 gross monthly income. Where did that come from, Mr. Barrera?
That income came from, Your Honor, based on $30 an hour, 40 hours a week.
Okay, but that wasn't indicated on the first 3 quarters of 2020.
No, it was not.
Okay.
The last quarter, the income became lower.
No, I'm talking about the first 3 quarters.
The first 3 quarters, when I calculated child support, the first 3 quarters, it averaged out to $3,921. The first 3 months, the first quarter of the year, he was averaging, one moment. The first 3 months of the year, it was averaging $5,285. If I used the first 6 months of the year, he was averaging $4,748. If I use the 9 months of the year, it's averaging $3,922 as the income for the last quarter of the year, of the last quarter that was being shown that I have income to, was lower. It became lower. It decreased.
Go ahead, Mr. Rodriguez. Just needed some clarification on that.
yes, sir, Your Honor. Now, Mr. Barrera, if you only used the third quarter by itself, and the third quarter was the most recent quarter that you have information for, correct?
The third quarter is the last quarter that I can see.
Now, if you only use that third quarter alone, would you agree with me that the child support amount would be even lower? Yes or no?
If I only use the last 3 months of being July, August, and September, then his gross income would be lower.
Okay. Now, in all fairness, you used the entire 3 quarters of 2020, correct?
I used his income that he earned for the January through September. That is correct.
Okay. And and just to be clear for the record, I assume you did not have the information from September to December. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So using the information you had from your investigation from January to September of 2020, you agree with me that the child support should be the $735, correct?
Based on the information that I was able to investigate, That was his average income, $3,922 for those 9 months.
Okay, we pass the witness, Judge.
Ms. Armstrong, any questions?
Just a few, Your Honor. Mr. Barrera, in the third quarter, in the third quarter of 2020, are we able to see if he worked the entire third quarter or not?
No, we are not. I was not able to determine if he was working the whole 3 quarters. I just able to see the income that he earned during 3 months.
Thank you. Pass the witness.
Ms. Ochoa, you have any questions for Mr. Barrera?
No, I mean,
Mm.
no, I don't have no questions. I just know that
Maria?
he, get.
Mr. Rodriguez, any questions?
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you, Judge.
All right. Any other witnesses, Ms. Armstrong?
No further witnesses, Your Honor.
Any witnesses, Ms. Ochoa? Do you have any witnesses that you wish to present?
No, I mean, I wish I would have brought my son. I didn't know,
All right.
but
Mr. Rodriguez, any further witnesses you wish to present?
No, Your Honor.
Any final argument, Ms. Armstrong?
Yes, final argument, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
Your Honor, through testimony, we learned that Mr. Ochoa has had several opportunities to attend this hearing. He has been given proper notification several different times. He's chosen not to provide income information to the Attorney General's office. He's chosen not to attend any of the hearings that the court has ordered him to appear for. We were able to calculate his child support based on testimony from Ms. Ochoa, who had personal knowledge from being married to him for so many years of what his income has always been at the job, which is $30 an hour, to get an income of $5,200 monthly gross. In the alternative, we did also have Mr. Barrera testify to the income that he was able to find through our sources of $3,921.76 monthly gross income. We asked for the court to use its discretion on what income to set Mr. Ochoa's income on to base child support on for 2 children. And we will ask that the child support begin April 1st of 2020, since this has been going on since December of 2019, and it's no fault to Ms. Ochoa that this should not have been started a long time ago, a year ago, almost, Your Honor. We asked the court to order medical support and child support in the amount that the court feels is fair and just in this matter. Mr. Ochoa due April 1st of this year, but child support to start April 1st of last year, 2020.
All right. Mr. Rodriguez, any final argument?
Just very briefly, Judge. We would argue, Judge, that given the evidence and testimony before you, Mr. Barrera's testimony is the most credible. He is the most unbiased witness that has been presented. And we would argue that we would respectfully ask the court to follow his calculation based on his investigation, where the child support would be $735 a month. If the court is going to include both children. Now, the $30, just to address that, Your Honor, the $30 calculation comes from the testimony of Ms. Ochoa, who of course is a very interested witness, and there are no documents to support what she is saying, and Mr. Barrera's testimony would certainly be more credible as far as what calculations should be made. So if the court's going to consider both children, we would respectfully ask that the court use the $735 amount for child support. As far as the medical support goes, Your Honor, we heard testimony that the maximum amount of 9% was used. So we would ask the court to give, I all I could ask is mercy is the only way I can think of putting it. And because there are no circumstances to suggest that Mr. Ochoa should be taxed at the maximum rate for healthcare. So we would respectfully ask that instead of the 353 amount, which would be 9%, we would respectfully ask the court to follow the 234 amount, which would be the 4.5% for medical support. Now, we would also add, Your Honor, respectfully add and ask the court to consider calculating the net resources at 20%, given the fact that Vera, the second child, is 18 years old, already with her own family unit, has a child, the father of that child, and is clearly living with him. I know there was
Objection,
testimony that she's,
mischaracterizing the evidence. That was free
Sustained.
testimony.
Sustained.
and Judge, I was going to clarify. There was testimony that she goes back and forth, but there was clear testimony that she spends the night there with the father of the child and her child. So we would respectfully ask the court to consider only the child support at 20%, which would be for one child, and that's the youngest child, who is, I believe, 16 years old right now. And just to do a brief calculation using the $2,940 established by Mr. Barrera's testimony, 20% of that would be 588. So I guess in summary, Judge, we would respectfully ask the court to consider only one child at a child support amount of 588. But if the court is going to consider child support for the two children, that be the amount calculated by Mr. Barrera's investigation. We passed the witness. I mean, that's all for now, Judge.
All right, the modification is granted. Father's order to pay child support in the amount of $735 a month and cash medical support in the amount of $353 a month beginning April 1st, 2020. Anything further?
Nothing further.
Ms. Armstrong?
Nothing further, Your
All
Honor.
right.
Objection order.
And Your Honor,
All
may I
right.
just throw a little bit in the record just for a few seconds for the bill of review, Judge?
Oh, okay. Which,
Thank you very much, Your Honor. And just for purposes of the bill of review, we are pointing out section 231.108 of the Texas Family Code, and it subsection C of section 231.108 directly discusses the confidentiality exception, where it states here, subsection C, the Title 4D agency may use or release information from the files and records, including information that results from a communication made by a recipient of financial assistance under Chapter 31 of the Human Resource Code, or by an applicant for or recipient of services under this chapter for purposes directly connected with the administration of the child support. And it goes on to talk about paternity determination and other things that don't necessarily relate to this case, Judge. And the last part of subsection C says the Title 4D agency may release the information from the files and records also to a consumer reporting agency in accordance with section 231.114. And we, of course, are just pointing that out, Judge, because Mr. Barrera was not allowed to give us the information of the where he received the information from about the amounts of income. Thank you very much, Judge, for hearing us and for allowing us to lay that record.
all right. You excused.
Yes, sir. Have a good day, sir.
Yes.
Your Honor.
So what happens now?